We're revisiting skill 22 again. The blanket roll is useful not just for shoulders, but you can also use it for the knee. So it's basically the same thing. You size how big a roll you're going to need, fold the blanket to fit that, put the cravats in there, roll it up, and you're just putting it on a knee instead of on a shoulder. The difference is that a properly applied blanket roll will pretty well immobilize a shoulder all by itself. The sling and swath is required, but it just adds a little extra. If you do a properly applied blanket roll on a bent knee like this, the patient is probably going to be able to straighten the leg pretty easily. So what you do is you use their other leg, if that's uninjured, as a more or less rigid splint. If you tie their legs together with padding between it, then the injured leg can't unbend. Or alternatively, if that's not possible for some reason, you could use a backboard, or you could even get out a Kendrick and use that to make a long spine to keep the thing from straightening out on you. Again, critical performance indicators for this skill: stabilization and CMS checks before and afterwards. Let's see what it looks like. Dave folds the blanket while Cypher does the CMS check and then takes manual stabilization. Putting different colored cravats in the middle of the roll is a good idea. And having a helper throw one at you doesn't hurt either. That way you can tell when you're pulling on an end which the other end is. Roll up the cravat, insert it. Obviously you have to coordinate with your stabilizer while you're doing that. And then tie off the cravats. Dave is kind enough to his patient to get some padding, so a piece of that goes filling the void on top of the blanket roll, and others are available so that the cravats won't be tied right over the skin. Here he loosely ties one. And then puts a piece of padding under it. He's asking the patient here whether that can go tighter, and it can go pretty tight without hurting the patient since you're distorting the blanket. There's a lot of give in one of those blankets. And since he's Dave, ties a square knot. Okay, Dave, you'll get the square knot. We promise. There we go. Now it's a square knot. Excellent, excellent. And then ties a second cravat on there. And depending on the situation, you can use others of the cravats that you have in there if you're having to engineer something whack. So once it's tied on, they're going to use another blanket and roll that up just for padding and put that between the patient's legs, because as you can see, when she relaxes, that knee can go a whole lot down, squishing that blanket. So instead of just leaving the blanket roll all by itself, we're going to run a cravat under her ankles and tie those together. And then using another cravat, one of the ones that was embedded in the roll, go around either both legs, as Dave's indicating there, or just the blanket between her legs and the outside of the injured leg. And as we say when tying things on cars, that's not going anywhere. A CMS check at the end, and we are done.